We're going to talk to Joe calling in from Indiana. Joe, what's going on?
Indiana Joe's.
I like that. Joe, you there? Joe, can you hear us one more time? Hello, hello.
Oh, hello. My bad.
Hey, there we go. I almost hung up on you there, Joe. Really glad you got to us. What's going on?
I'm sitting here talking to myself like, man, how y'all doing?
We're doing all right.
Doing well.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I was just calling. I just wanted to get your quick take. Honestly, it was probably a short call because honestly, my ignorance kind of fuels my nervousness about this. But I just kind of wanted to know what you thought about this whole vaccine because with the few of them that are coming out, what's making, because I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means. I mean, for fuck's sakes, vaccinate your children. But this vaccine is what makes me so sure about the other vaccines that we have is just the longevity of testing that we've had to show the long-term effects of certain things, of how it'll react, all those sorts of whatever, side effects may happen. We know by and large, okay, this is going to happen one way or something's going to happen. This may or may not happen with these vaccines, whatever. With this, it doesn't seem like we have we know anything about like the long-term effects on it. So those sorts of things make me nervous, make me sort of not want to take it, because it's like, man, what might happen 10 years down the line with this vaccine that we aren't sure of,
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious what your take on it was with this whole vaccine. Are you going to take it? Are you guys, are you like jumping at the bit? Or because I can't imagine that I'm like the only person that has this sort of.
You're not.
About it.
I'll tell you this, Joe. I literally had a conversation with a coworker about this yesterday who told me straight up that they don't want to take the vaccine. And it's because of the exact fears that you're expressing. Now, they're probably not as skeptical as you are, Joe, in terms of, really thinking about their reasons why. But there's a couple of things to know when it comes to the vaccine. First of all, we do get new vaccines every year, and sometimes they don't work as intended, or they're not as effective as we'd want them to be, because a lot of the vaccines that we get are in predictions of the next like flu seasons and stuff. That's what we're thinking. Some of them are more specific, like polio, where we know their effectiveness and stuff like that. So we're dealing with a coronavirus mutation. And so they've done the testing for it, and they're going to continue tracking the potential side effects and stuff even after this is released. It's not like they're just going to release it out into the world.
Oh, sure.
But 10 years down the line, if there's something that comes from this and we don't know about it, I'm not an epidemiologist. I can't tell you the ins and outs of how that might work in the real world. I can only address what current fears people have about it, and some people think that there's effects from taking it right now. There's a conspiracy going around specifically about how 6 of the people in the initial tests experienced adverse side effects during the trials. What people don't realize is 4 of the people in those groups were placebo, and the other 2 one had like an injury recently that they were experiencing, and the other person had like a heart attack like 3 years later, but they had a history of other symptoms and stuff. Like it makes the reason why we track, like when you go to the doctor and you say, oh, you're complaining about this, this, and this, when you're taking stuff, like they take all that information into account when they're doing these kinds of trials and stuff as well. And so that's why that information gets out there. But yeah, I can't answer the question is this going to affect us in 10 years? I don't think so. I really don't think so, because like the way that they're testing for this vaccine, from my understanding and from my knowledge, and again, I have no relevant expertise in the field whatsoever, but I don't think it's going to be any different. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be any different from what we see when we get vaccines, like with the flu and everything else. But again, I couldn't tell you the difference. I will say this: I do plan on getting it as soon as it comes available to me. So I've been talking a lot, though, Lauren. I want to get your take.
No worries. Yeah, Joe, I am definitely going to get the vaccine as soon as it becomes available to people in whatever category I'm in. And I think, it's like I said before, I don't know if you were listening to the first half of the show, but when we were talking about conspiracy theories around tragedies, I think we have to believe what the experts are telling us, believe what informed media outlets are telling us, what scientists, of course, are telling us.
Absolutely.
And I trust that, if the FDA let this go through, we can trust that they're not, trying to harm. They're not going to allow millions and millions of people, hundreds of millions of people to get to be harmed and, you know, have long-term effects like that. And I completely understand your reservations because this did get pushed through so fast. You know, we hear a lot of people say normally a process like this would take anywhere from 2 to 5 to even 10 years, and this is just not normal. But, you know, we're not in normal times, and they've been really aggressively and with a ton of people working on researching this and getting all the testing done that they need to push this through at a record pace. So even though it seems concerning, that doesn't mean that it's less valid than other vaccines that have been around for a while. And I'm going to recommend something to you. There's a really awesome Instagram account. I don't know if you're on Instagram, but I would still recommend maybe set one up and go check this person out. She is called Laurel Bristow, and she has an account called King Gutter Baby. I know it's a ridiculous username, but I love it. But she is actually a COVID researcher. What's that? She's actually cool name. She's a COVID researcher as her job, and she does these wonderful Instagram stories debunking all of the conspiracy theories and responding to all of the fears around the vaccine. And her ultimate conclusion is that getting COVID is a lot more dangerous and has a lot more long-term effects than getting a vaccine is. And the most you're likely to experience from getting a vaccine is the same effects you would from anything else, you know, like if you're allergic to latex or whatever. So yeah, definitely check her out, because like Dan said, we're not experts, but I trust the experts, and I'm definitely gonna get it ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I do too. You know, I that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna get it, but like still, I just can't help that apprehension, because you know I trust what the scientists are saying about this sort of thing.
I think people,
that little bit of information that we can't say that we know yet is that long-term effects that I think just makes me the most scared. So neither one of you really have any sort of apprehensions about it, and pretty much it's because of just the trust that you have.
Here's what I do know.
Don't get COVID. Don't get COVID. That's a lot worse.
The Pfizer vaccine, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't want to be wrong about this, but you know, a lot of conversation that's been happening about the techniques with the vaccines is they've had some new like DNA based kind of obviously I don't know the technical term.
mRNA with mRNA in it called.
My understanding is that there's a viral component that your cells actually reproduce part of the virus in making it, and it's kind of a newer technique that they haven't done before. I can't recall if the Pfizer vaccine is one of the newer techniques or not, but like there's a couple of different ways in which they do it. Obviously, every vaccine's a bit different, and there's different methods by which they create them. But I don't want to misspeak and give any misinformation, so I won't comment on that. I guess what I will say is everything that I've seen about the Pfizer vaccine, specifically with what they've released about the trials and stuff in the phase of testing. It doesn't seem, I haven't read any serious commentary on it from any noteworthy expert that has said that this is anything to be a cause of alarm. And in this case, I am going to trust the experts. And maybe does that make me a sheeple? I don't know, maybe. But I can at least talk about this more competently than the other people that are really scared about this, right? The ones that are saying, no, we don't want to do this because big pharma is out to make money off of this. And it's like, yeah, that's whatever. Right?
Yeah, some garbage.
Yeah. But no,
I really appreciate what y'all had to say. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying, check out King Gutter Baby on Instagram for sure. She actually just did a story debunking the fears around DNA alteration with the vaccine. So check her out. Not sponsored.
Oh, I will. Cool. I really appreciate y'all. Like I said, I didn't figure y'all had the answers, but man, I'm going to do some more research on it. Hopefully that'll, over time, as we get more available, you know, that we'll have a better understanding. I'll have a better understanding.
Let me ask you this.
But I really appreciate y'all taking my, go ahead. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that, because I know the reason why, it's because you said, yeah, we've researched this faster than other vaccines, but isn't it interesting that for pretty much my entire life, I don't know, I've never heard in casual conversation anybody being worried about next year's flu vaccine. I just think that's kind of interesting that we're hearing about this now all the time, and suddenly everybody is worried about this. Like
That's a great point.
And that's not to say that people shouldn't be skeptical about the things they put into their bodies. I just want to make sure that people are doing their skepticism right. I think that's kind of a problem that we have. It's not I don't feel that anybody should have a sense of shame for not for feeling something differently that, mainstream authorities are telling them, but to be skeptical and then to just leave it at skepticism and just keep that skepticism an unwarranted amount of skepticism, right? Like, that's also equally epistemically irresponsible. Just like the people that say like, oh, like 9/11 happened because, there's all these suspicious things, but like we also know some facts about things that just make more sense anyway. So anyway, that's a mini rant, but I appreciate you calling in about this, Joe. I appreciate you being honest about your apprehension, because we're living in some different times. So, it's good to talk.
For sure, man. Yeah, man, y'all too. I really appreciate you taking my call. I'll be listening to the rest of the show. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Joe. You take care. Have a great rest of your night.